Well, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things, we have many stuff and things to talk about, including upcoming videos. There are many things that I'm going to try to get to in the coming weeks on this channel. Things are piling up and I want to try to get through all of them. They're all cool, they're all fun, they're all things that I'm excited about, so stay tuned for that. We're going to do a top 5 list. Everyone always asks me to give my top 5 blends, my top 5 films, top 5 albums. We are finally doing a top 5, and it will be top 5 summer blends. The blends that just seem to fit in perfectly with the warmer weather and the longer days. And then of course we will have your questions, comments, and feedback in hashtag askstuffandthings. It's kind of a weird one this week because I'm really rushing. I had a crazy hectic week at work. All my schedule was thrown off because I was working, getting home at like 7 o'clock some days after working all day long, and just didn't have the time I wanted to get all the things that I normally get done during the week. And then I also wanted to go hiking with my fiance and my brother and his wife this weekend up at Mount Baker. So I'm trying to cram this video in, and hopefully I'm not too scatterbrained. Okay, upcoming videos, things that you can look forward to on Stuff and Things and Stuff and Things Plays. First of all, I think we're going to do a revisited episode soon, probably next week, and it will be on a blend that many of you really enjoy. Many of you had asked me to review initially when I did it some years ago, and several of you have asked me to revisit it, and it is this: Peterson Irish Oak. A blend that's a little bit out of my comfort zone. It's not usually the kind of thing I go for, but I didn't hate it when I reviewed it initially, so a revisited episode of Peterson Irish Oak is coming. We also are going to have a review of this, the Bark River Ultralite Bushcrafter, a very lovely knife that I got recently and that I've been enjoying using quite a bit. It is a beautiful knife in CPM 3V steel with desert ironwood handle scales, black liners. It's a gorgeous blade, and we'll be reviewing this on the channel soon as well. We also are going to have the full review of the Roterfaden Taschenbegleiter. This is a really cool notebook system. I did the first impressions, or not the first impressions, but the box opening and initial impressions video of this system last week. If you haven't checked it out yet, you definitely should. I've kind of configured it now to my liking since then. Things still might change a little bit, but I've got quite a few things in here now. I actually put my little Midori clear plastic sleeve bag, whatever you want to call that, pouch inside there. Got various things, lots of good stuff in here. I've been using it for about a week now, and I'm going to be doing the full review in a few more weeks. I want to really have time to actually use this and see what I think, but this is going to be coming up soon as well. We're going to maybe do a video of the hike that I go on. I'm going on the hike tomorrow. I'm actually recording this on a Friday. I'm trying to cram it in after work. So we'll see. I'm going up to a really cool place, Lake Anne in the Mount Baker Wilderness here in Washington, in Northwest Washington. So we shall see. Maybe I'll see some pika, and that would be fun. I'm going to try to take my telephoto lens and see if I can get some wildlife. And then of course, Elden Ring continuing every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Stuff and Things Plays. So a very full plate. Many things for us to dig into in the coming weeks. You asked for it, now you're gonna get it. My top 5 summer blends. Many of you have noticed, as I have noticed myself, and many of us have commented on this, there are certain blends that just seem to go well with the seasons. When it's really cold, windy, raining, you feel all cozy in your home, there are certain blends that just don't seem quite right for that circumstance. Blends that do seem great for a cold winter evening. I've always said, you know, originally Dunhill Nightcap, now Peterson Nightcap. Blends that to me are a little more spicy, maybe a little more on the Latakia side of things. Those blends seem to go really well with winter. But in the summer, I don't necessarily like those same kinds of blends. And many of you have asked for a top 5 summer blends list, and this is it. We're gonna do it now. Now, I tried to pick blends that obviously I really like and enjoy in the summer season, and also blends that are readily available. I tried not to pick anything that was too esoteric or weird. Speaking of esoteric, there are esoterica blends. I could have picked some of those because I really love some of their blends for summertime, but they're just too hard to get. So I tried to pick things that are at least fairly widely available. I don't have all of these tins on hand, so you may just have to imagine the tin art, or maybe I'll insert a picture of the tin art as I mention each of these blends. And the reasons I like these blends in the summer, I guess we'll talk about them individually as we get into each one, but there's just a certain character to blends that I like during the summer. I don't like anything super, super full flavored. I don't want anything that's really smoky. I can enjoy a lot of Kia blends in the summer too, but if it's a really blazing hot summer day, I tend to go for things that are a little lighter, more crisp, maybe citrusy, grassy. So I think you could probably tell where we're going to be going with this list. But let's start it out with number 5. And that is a blend that I kind of overlook a lot, but when I was trying to make up this list, it really asserted itself and I had to consider it. And then I decided, yes, this belongs on the list. And that is the very first blend I ever reviewed on this channel, and that is Orlik Golden Sliced. There's just something about this blend. It's not technically something that I should really love, because I love vapors probably more than anything. It's not a Periki blend. It's basically a straight Virginia. But it's just really high, really bright, really fruity, really grassy, has a great hay-like character to it as well, and it just seems to suit a hot summer day perfectly. It's really nice for a straight Virginia. So number 5, Orlik Golden Sliced. Number 4, this is a blend. It is also of the Virginia ilk, and it is the blend that replaced Elizabethan mixture for me for a while when Elizabethan mixture was off the market. The Dunhill blends were discontinued, and before STG reissued them under the Peterson brand, there was a pretty long period where I couldn't get Elizabethan, and the blend I chose to replace it was GLP's Stratford. A blend that to me had a lot of the same character as Elizabethan, but as I continued, I guess, God, it must have been over 6 months. Memory is a little hazy there, but over a long period of time when I didn't have Elizabethan at all, Stratford's took on its own character and I started appreciating it for itself. I wasn't trying to find a blend that just tasted exactly like Elizabethan, because I knew that wasn't going to be possible, but Stratford really asserted itself as just a really nice vapor. Nice ribbon cut, really easy to deal with, really high quality components in there, and it just is perfectly suited for a hot, sweaty summer day when you don't want a really heavy blend, but it still has flavor. It has that nice Perique quotient. Just excellent, quite excellent. Number 4, no, that was number 4. Number 3, I have a tin here that isn't quite right, but I'll explain that in a bit. I love Virginias in the summertime. I really like straight Virginias, and I really like straight Virginia flakes, and our number 3 blend is this. In this case, Dunhill flake, but now you would have to get it under the Peterson name, so Peterson flake. This to me is almost the quintessential straight Virginia flake. It's not too strongly flavored, and I don't mean that as far as added flavoring, just as far as the flavor of the blend itself. It's not super full flavored, it's not super bold, but there's enough there, there's a little kick to it, and it is just, if you want to know what a Virginia flake should taste like, in my opinion, Dunhill/Peterson flake is really the one, I think. I think it would give you a really nice baseline to judge other Virginias from. It's super grassy, super bright, but not overly composty, if that makes any sense. You just have this nice, delicate, grassy, hay-like flavor, really good citrus overtones going on here. It's just really great, and it smokes really well too. I've just always loved Dunhill/Peterson flake, and that is why it is my number 3 on my list of favorite summer blends. Number 2 is a blend that I don't have, and I was kind of debating whether or not I should include this because it is pretty hard to get, at least in the US, but it's widely known enough and sometimes available enough that I had to include it, and that is Gawith Full Virginia Flake. Now, Full Virginia Flake is another one of those blends that I consider sort of quintessential or indispensable if you're trying to figure out what a straight Virginia Flake can taste like. Dunhill Flake or Peterson Flake is more on the bright, grassy, citrusy side. Full Virginia Flake by Gawith is more of the darker, matured straight Virginia flavor, but it still really works for summer. It has more of that bread-like character to it, sort of yeasty. It's just delicious, and I absolutely love it. There's something about the flake itself, too. It's so thick and so, I don't know, meaty, kind of, but I just absolutely love that blend. I wish I could get it more often, but it's so hard to find these days. I guess I should try to make more effort to track some more down because I wish I could have it in my rotation all the time. And that is why it is number 2 on my list of favorite summer blends. And now, number 1. I'm sure most of you have already guessed this, but you're wrong. It's not Elizabethan, it's Elizabethan mixture. By Peterson, formerly by Dunhill. Peterson Elizabethan mixture is my favorite summer blend, but it's also just my favorite blend in general, so I don't know if that really counts. But if you want a vapor, and in the summertime I often want a vapor, I don't think you can go wrong with Elizabethan mixture. It's not the most strongly flavored, it's not the boldest, doesn't have the biggest kick. It's not the grassiest, it's not the darkest, it's not the breadiest, it's not the iniest of any blend, but it's just such a perfect encapsulation of what a vapor should taste like. The perfect amount of perique, the perfect amount of bright grassy highs, the dark matured lows. It's delicious, and I absolutely love it, and I think it goes perfectly with a hot summer day by the lake. So there you go, my top 5. Once again, number 5, Orlik Golden Sliced. Number 4, GLP's Stratford. Number 3, Dunhill / Peterson Flake. Number 2, Samuel Gawith Full Virginia Flake. And number 1, of course, Peterson Elizabethan Mixture. In the summer, I tend to go for Virginia blends, and those are my favorite blends for the summertime. And now, gang, it is time for hashtag #AskStuffandThings. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the Sunday Stuff and Things, you can tweet at SAT Bradley with the hashtag #AskStuffandThings. You can also leave me comments on YouTube videos. I try to read through all of those and pick out questions, comments, feedback. And then, of course, if you are a Patreon supporter and you ask me a question on Patreon, I will definitely answer it on the Sunday Stuff and Things. I have to apologize because I haven't been able to go through the comments on YouTube, or I think I had some messages on Twitter as well and some really cool emails too. I haven't been able to get through all of those this week because, like I said, it's been a very crazy week. I tried to get through as many as I could. So if any of you are waiting for a reply or you feel some angst because I haven't replied to you or acknowledged your message, I'm sorry. I'm going to try to get through all of them eventually, but it's just been very hectic this week. But we have some good feedback, some good questions on this week's hashtag #AskStuffandThings. We will start via YouTube with Guy Bumstead. Guy says, as a fellow Pacific Northwesterner, what are your thoughts or experiences on the topic of Sasquatch? Here's the devil right now. Tens of thousands of eyewitnesses, only one of them has to have been real. I think Bigfoot is hilarious. I think this particular Bigfoot is hilarious. I do not even remotely believe that Bigfoot is real. I think it would be impossible, and I'm sure you're probably not asking this question seriously, Guy Bumstead, but it would be impossible for a large mammal of that size to have survived in the Pacific Northwest, an area where, yes, there are wild areas, but there are also lots and lots of people here. It could never have survived for that long without there being some physical evidence of their existence. And don't tell me there are plaster casts or bits of hair. There has never been anything that has ever convinced any scientist that there is anything like that wandering around in the forest. It would be cool, but I don't think it exists. Next, from Shin Longan. Bradley, I know you said you don't want to talk too much about your workout and sports activities, but I'm sure many of us would be interested in the details, such as what kind of protein shake you consume and how often. I'm around your age and thinking about restarting my protein regimen again. Thanks. Thanks, Shinlangan. I take Gold Standard 100% whey protein, and it is in the chocolate malt version or flavor, and I mix it with milk, about 8 to 9 ounces of milk in a protein shaker. We talked about the protein shaker mishap last week, and I also put a teaspoon of creatine. What is it called? Mono something naka. A little bit of creatine. So these are the only 2 supplements, and I've done extensive research on this, that I've been able to find that seem to be both safe and effective. I'm sure maybe there are some other things out there, but protein and creatine actually seem to help with building muscle and giving you the energy to get through your workouts, and they don't seem to have horribly negative side effects. So that's what I take, and I take it 5 days a week. I work out 3 to 4 days a week. Obviously, I'm working in a physically active job as well, but I take those after my workouts and then on 1 or 2 rest days after the workouts as well. So thank you for the question. Next, from Joshua Smith. You weren't kidding. Those squirrels were going nuts. That's cool you have black squirrels in Washington. We do. Black squirrels are a melanistic mutation of gray squirrels, so they're not a different species. They've mutated to have more melanin. I'm curious what you're reading these days. I'm reading Isaac Asimov's Foundation, and I might go for Stanislaw Lem next. Thanks, Bradley. I am reading this at the moment. It is Larry McMurtry's Comanche Moon. I have read this before. It is part of the Lonesome Dove series. It is actually a prequel to Lonesome Dove, and I just read Dead Man's Walk, which is first in order of chronology in the Lonesome Dove story, following Gus McCrae and Woodrow Call. But it was actually written, I think this is the last one written, and okay, the order in which they're written was Lonesome Dove, Streets of Laredo, Dead Man's Walk, and Comanche Moon. I'm pretty sure. But I'm reading them in chronological order. They're great. They're kind of pulpy in some ways. I don't know if you would call it high literature or anything, but they're really fun stories. If you like Westerns, if you like, or if you don't mind a bit of violence and gore and such, then I would highly suggest the Lonesome Dove series. You could start with Lonesome Dove, but if you start chronologically, it's cool. You'll notice some inconsistencies with the timeline and some plotting and stuff because he sort of retrofitted things as he went along, but highly recommended. This is Larry McMurtry, Comanche Moon. Quite good. Next, this is from BS. Hi, Bradley. I have a question, although it is kind of involved. I am more of an English Balkan blend guy and have never really got the allure of vapors. Well, I just told you a bunch about some really good vapors and straight Virginias. I have access to Essing pipes, so was looking at Cornell and Diehl produced blends, along with a lot of common U.S. bulk blends. In short, what would you recommend for someone trying to dip a toe into vapors Virginias? Well, some of the blends that I just mentioned today would be fantastic for you. Elizabethan, of course. If they have a lot of Cornell and Diehl, that means they probably have GLPs, because Cornell and Diehl makes the GLPs blends, so you might go for GLPs Stratford, too. That would be a really good recommendation, I believe. Thanks for the question. Something is going on my phone. I think battery is almost dead. Okay, so let's get through this. Feedback. This is from the Sunday Stuff and Things from last week. This is from Jason Hunt. As a 50-year-old man who is wildly out of shape outwardly, I can attest to the fact that when you work a very specific job, you will definitely develop endurance and muscle skills that belay your outward appearance. I walk an average of 7 to 8 miles per day in my working week and do a lot of burst-type lifting and carrying. It definitely does not look like I can walk for miles. I'm a roly-poly fat guy. But I can walk for ages without getting winded or feeling tired in the slightest. I can definitely say that making exercise and good eating a habit is the key to any long-term fitness and weight loss. My wife and I did it for an entire year about a decade ago. We both lost over 100 pounds. Wow. Ate proper portions, avoided junk foods, etc. At the end of the year, I decided it was just not for me. I was not enjoying what my life had turned into, and I stopped knowing full well that I would likely regain all that weight, which I did over the next 2 years. So yes, make good habits. Realize that a healthy lifestyle is something you work on and need to be committed to. That's true, and thank you for the comment, Jason. I guess it depends on you personally and what you value in your life, but for me, the modicum of effort I put into maintaining my shape or being in good shape is not anywhere near as onerous as I would find not being in good shape, if that makes sense. And like I said, I don't really feel like I'm denying myself a lot of things. I still have junk food sometimes. I still have candy sometimes. On the weekends, I have a donut in the morning and things like that. But it's not like I'm measuring calories or freaking out or anything. I'm just kind of in moderation. And it's different for everybody, obviously. And everybody's body works differently and stuff. But that's all good stuff, Jason. Thank you. Next, from Big Earn Bladesmith. Divots in the spine is okay because it's hand ground, eh? So he was talking about the first Bark River that I got that had some issues with the spine. We'll talk about that when we do this full review. This one's great. The first one I got, I wasn't happy with. Maybe because even though they aren't a factory, they're still a production business. Things like that are more acceptable. I won't sell a knife if I'm not happy with the quality, which is a good policy, I think. 3V is a very nice, very tough steel. You could almost abuse it. It won't hold an edge like S30V, but it will hold it longer than 1095. Unlike S30V, it will take a hair-popping sharpness like 1095 will. The knife will serve you well. Yes, thank you, and it's good to hear from an expert on the subject. It's definitely hair-popping right now. I've shaved off way too much of the hair on my arm by testing the sharpness of this knife. It's sharp. Next, we have a comment from Paul Langlois? I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce your name, Paul. A very cool system. Speaking of the Roterfaden Taschenbegleiter. I ordered one custom a few years ago since Midori was just too small for me. This thing can get very bulky, but it can handle it. Everything is super durable and well made except the red elastic closure got pretty flimsy on me after more than a year of use. It still works, but I wish there was a way for the end user to easily replace it without stitching a new one in. My favorite notebook for Roterfaden is the Midori MD5. I use this plus a smaller Rhodia staple bound and a plastic pouch. Also had a Rhodia top-bound pad in the large back pocket for tearaway notes. Yes, and I actually responded to this question, or this feedback, and asked, because I had put my Midori pouch in here as well, as you can see, and I asked him what pouch he used, and he said, oh, I just put my Midori pouch in there as well. So great minds think alike. And yes, I'm sure that this elastic is eventually going to lose its elasticity. If you ever have like old Moleskine notebooks or loose term notebooks, eventually the elastic band that they have that holds the notebook closed will get loose. And I know that will happen to this eventually. And I guess I can do something, retrofit it with another strap or something like that. I'm not going to send it back to Germany to have them fix it for me. So we'll see. I think these do have a guarantee, but again, yeah, I'm probably not going to ship it internationally to fix that elastic. So maybe I'll have to do a follow-up video in a couple years' time to see if the elastic has given out. But gang, thank you so much for all the feedback and the questions and everything. Please keep it coming in. It is much appreciated. Oh, and the battery's about to go dead. Okay, we've got a fresh battery. As I was saying, please keep the comments, the questions, the feedback coming in. It really adds to the fun of the show. I love interacting with all of you, so please keep it coming. But now, it is time for the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank our Patreon supporters. My God, seriously, it really, really is kind of flabbergasting to me, or it makes me flabbergasted that you guys are supporting this channel, and it is so much appreciated. I know things are rough right now. Inflation is through the roof, and it really, really helps a lot, especially because we can't monetize so many of the videos that we put out if they have anything to do with the pipe hobby. So thank you so much. You're helping to pay for this fancy camera, the lights that are shining upon me right now, blends for review, and other products and such that I would like to show you. So every week we like to thank our Patreon supporters, people who support the channels at $25 or more a month. People like Kirk Crompton, Private Eye, Glenn, Just Glenn, Jason Buckner, Gloria Phillips, MDoftheNorth, David Gaudreau, Mr. Luxurious, and our brand new $25 supporter, Nick Papageorgio.
Welcome to Mirage, Mr. Papageorgio.
And of course, the Maniacs, people like our good friend Peter Straub, stolid, dependable Bob Magee, and Ashes of the Phoenix. Thank you all so much for your support. If any of you would like to support the channels on Patreon, there is a link in the description box below, or you could hit that super thanks button below this video if you'd like to donate directly. But just having you watching, subscribing, liking, sharing these videos, leaving your comments and your feedback, that is much appreciated as well. So please stay tuned for the first impressions video of Peterson Irish Oak. We will have our full review of the Bark River Ultralite Bushcrafter, the full review of the Roterfaden Taschenbegleiter. We may have a video about our hike up to Lake Anne. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the Elden Ring series, which is fantastic, if I don't say so myself, is continuing on Stuff and Things Plays. But until next time, until we meet again, I'm your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.